Messenger Elijah Muhammad teaches us to do for self and to use self-defense and to never be the aggressor. He teaches the FOI in particular that we do not carry as much as a penknife. We don't walk around with guns, but there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding and misrepresentation when it comes to these subjects. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad absolutely wanted his followers to understand that they had the right to have a weapon in their home to protect their families with. I would like for you to listen to the quote directly from the messenger. He said in the History of the Nation of Islam, chapter 11, which was an interview, quote, "Now keep them in his home. He must not take them out of his home so that we will not be charged with violence or attacking no one with weapons." There's nothing spooky. Only the messenger's message will guide us through this age of mess. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Hotep. Shalom. Assalamu Allah. Peace to the gods. Peace to the goddesses. I'm your brother in the struggle for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality. And today, family, we would like to discuss gun control, what it is and what it isn't. In light of recent activities, we need to consider, why do we hear so much stuff about weapons, guns, assault rifles, handguns, ghost guns, nuclear bombs? There's no end to the weapons of mass destruction that we see in our lifetime. Of course, the Bible teaches us to beat these weapons into plowshares or turn these weapons into useful tools for humanity. Instead of trying to destroy the planet and destroy the people, why not use this technology to advance the planet, advance the people? So we're going to touch on a few things, but I want to clarify some things. I was listening to, what was I listening? I was listening to the Breakfast Club about 2 days ago. And I was listening to Charlemagne the God. And one of the things that he happened to mention stuck with me. He was basically saying, even if Charlie Kirk had a gun with him, it would not have stopped him from being assassinated. Militarily speaking, when President Kennedy was assassinated, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in The Fall of America, he wrote about that, and he explained, why was a president like William McKinley or Abraham Lincoln or Kennedy or any president that spoke out in favor of the so-called American Negroes so easily assassinated? We have to be security-minded. It's like, why did y'all have Trump with all his rhetoric, whether you're for or against him, with all his rhetoric? Why would the Secret Service have Trump standing in a public forum? Why would you have a bulletproof car, but you run around the public just teaching? I mean, it's like, come on. You're supposed to be smarter than that. It's like, ain't no mystery God. One of the things that I respect about the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, when he was at the Million Man March, you see he had the bulletproof joint around him. Obama had that bulletproof joint. I was in Philly when Obama came to Philadelphia. They had the security. We had to go through checkpoints, all kind of stuff. And it's sad, but that's the reality of the world that we live in. It should not have been that easy to make such moves coming from young boys at that. It's ridiculous. But I think that we're missing something when we hear particularly white men talk about gun control. Gun control has nothing to do with guns or regulations or laws or any of that. See, we always forget the nature of the devil. You got to understand, to them, when you hear these Republicans saying stuff like gun control. What they really saying is we need to control the weapons on the planet Earth. That's not new. That's something that they always understood. There's 8.2 billion people on the face of the planet Earth, according to the United Nations and the U.S. Census Bureau. Out of that 8.2 billion, only 11 to 16, a maximum of 16% are white. Now, keep in mind, out of 11 to 16% that identify as white, there's a lot of people, for financial reasons, Hispanics, blacks, Arabs would have that identify as white because, you get in a better social ranking. You make more money if you identify as white. So basically, scientifically, socially speaking, white people are the world's minority. They may be the majority in the United States, but they're the minority on this giant planet covering 196,940,000 square miles. So gun control is important to them. I mean, it should be important to us too, because out of all the nations that developed or stole or illegally obtained nuclear weapons, only one nation voluntarily gave away their nuclear weapons. Africa, South Africa, Azania. Israel illegally got some nuclear weapons. North Korea illegally got them some nuclear weapons. India, even though they may not have signed a pact saying we should not be doing this, their thing was they going to put their nation's best interests first. They going to take security as a priority. I mean, if you're living in a neighborhood, any neighborhood, picture a neighborhood anywhere on the planet Earth. You're in a village, a city, you're in North Philly, you're in Chirac over Chicago, you out Detroit, whatever. And your neighbor and your neighbor's neighbor and the people upstairs or the people downstairs, all of them got arms to protect their families with. And you the only one on the block that don't. That should be a concern. I mean, you gotta be like, look, either everybody got to get rid of these weapons, I'm gonna have to get me a weapon. I mean, there's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people give you part of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They be like, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches we don't carry as much as a penknife. Absolutely true. What they either don't know or forgot, or maybe they overlooking it, or maybe they hide it. I don't know. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad explained to a Jewish reporter at that, he explained that now as far as having a gun in your home to protect your family with, he explained that his followers can have a gun in their home to protect their family with, but they cannot be walking around or carrying a gun. You see? Because Master Muhammad, the messenger, understood that back in the 1920s and the 1930s, black people was a lot of agitation. There was a lot of armed black people, a lot of black military veterans, a lot of black armed training going on. And, so when conflicts happen, now you strap, the police strap, you strap the racist strap, it can cause all kind of chaos and confusion. So Master Muhammad like, nah, we can't be walking around with no bangers and all that kind of stuff. Know what I mean? But in the Nation of Islam, contrary to popular mythology, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad absolutely taught his followers that they can have a gun in their home to protect their families with. Now, when it comes to the Second Amendment of the Constitution, most people is familiar with the U.S. Constitution, things of that nature. You always hear people talking about the militia, the right to bear arms and things. One of the unique things that I found, and where I'm in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the state constitution is way more, I would say, stronger than the U.S. Constitution. The Pennsylvania State Constitution basically tell you like this. See, Pennsylvania got a lot of militias. So you got to understand, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is what they call the cradle of America's democracy. This is where the founding fathers, the flag of Islam, Betsy Ross House, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, the Liberty Bell, all that. The U.S. Constitution itself, all that right in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, all right? The Pennsylvania Constitution is strong for people with religious views as far as the First Amendment. Like if you're a FOI MGT, you know, they got a lot of racism like anywhere, you know, but they legally be like, yo, we don't try to infringe on people's constitutional rights, even though you do it to poor folks all the time. I mean, but when it comes to that Second Amendment, Pennsylvania language is basically saying the right to bear arms shall not be questioned. I don't think, y'all students of law, I got my Black's Law Dictionary over there. I don't want to get too technical here. In law, you have what's called mandatory language. See, a lawyer, when the lawyer read a statute or regulation or law, they're looking for mandatory language. Like if it says something, the right to bear arms may be imposed. The right to might or should or could, that's not mandatory language. But when you see something saying must or shall in law, and back in the day, we went to Black's Law School and all that. They teach you that's mandatory language, family. I mean, meaning it shall not be questioned. Powerful language in law. When it comes to these guns, when it comes to these rifles and assault weapons and things of that nature there, do not believe the hype. You got the extremists on this side. Get rid of all the guns. You got the extremists on the other side. We need to keep our guns. And there's no balance, no common sense approach to this thing. To understand what's happening, you got to look at it in this historical, scientific, in this nature. See, in nature, every creature has some type of gun. Like God as the creator, Mother Nature, Providence, whatever nomenclature you want to use. I don't believe in a mystery God. But in nature, let's talk, that's just for the sake of argument. Let's say nature. I mean, I believe, you know, the mind of the original man, the exact black man, the make it on the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe sparked all these things. We got protons, we got neutrons, and we got electrons. We got good forces, neutral forces, and negative forces. We got positive forces, neutral forces, and evil forces. We got good, indifference, and that's just the nature of every atom in this universe. All right. So what do Mother Nature do? Use mathematics. In the sciences of life, you see that the first law of nature is self-preservation. You see that the snake develops fangs and poison ducks. That's a gun. It develops a self-defense mechanism. You see what I'm saying? You know, like sharks got teeth, like lions got these claws and these long fangs. I mean, so that it can rip, it can literally rip a jugular vein and be able to devour a zebra if it had to. Now, I mean, those creatures in nature that's unarmed, historically speaking, usually become extinct. They usually get killed off. I mean, the haves and the have-nots, they usually get killed off. It's nothing personal in nature. It's like the survival of the fittest, for real, for real. The weak gets destroyed. That's just human nature, animal nature. You dive in the ocean, You see that the crab got his claws. You know what I mean, the lobster got theirs. You know what I mean, you see these little nice tunas swimming all around. You know what I mean, and then you just see these sharks, and they smell some blood, they taste some blood, and they go into shark frenzy. You know what I mean? You see the hyenas out there. These ain't your little domesticated pet dogs. Like people, how they enslave humans and domesticate humans. They like to take a fish and put it in a fish tank, put the cat in the house, put the dog on the leash, put the bird in the cage. They got this enslaving mentality. Like they look at it like, that's cool. Like to take you from your family and put you in service to my pleasure. I mean, no, that ain't cool. So nature gives these creatures self-defense mechanisms. Now, I mean, the greatest weapon is the human brain, the human mind, your ability to do for yourself, to protect what you have. I mean, to make it happen. I mean, like if you're waiting for a mystery God to protect your home and your family, you got a bad, sad day coming, family. I mean, after over 400 years of slavery, suffering, and death, after worldwide colonialism and imperialism, after seeing the 10% rich slave makers of the poor conquer and destroy countless civilizations, you would think people would be a little more, into self-defense. But when you are able to enslave people's way of thinking, hey, it can happen. See what I'm saying? It literally can happen. All right, so we're going back in time a little bit, back to like around the 9th century in ancient China. The emperor, human gods, the emperor is trying to find some type of elixirs. You know what I mean? He got his alchemists, they all in the lab experimenting with, saltpeter and carbon and sulfur. And they trying to find something to extend life. They poison the jokers, putting mercury in them, all kind of stuff. But they come up with this unique formula like, oh, what's this? This is something we can use. They discover what we call today gunpowder. All right. They take the gunpowder and say, oh, we're not going to use this to destroy life. We're going to use this gunpowder to celebrate life. So they using it, what we call fireworks, January 1st, July 4th in America. They set off Chinese developed that stuff all the way back in the 9th century. The Turks, different people borrowed, they had the Silk Road. So they sharing this technology and selling these things to other countries, and other countries are starting to develop it themselves. But once that white boy got hold of that, was like, yo, what the? It's like, yo, I get it. When I was a young boy, when I was like 12, 13 years old, the first time I got my hands on some fireworks illegally, I was like, yo, we had the Roman candle. We put the Roman candle, we in the middle of the street, all the kids, we playing around. We lights this joint, it shoots up this ball. Then it blows up in the air, show the spark. We like, whoa, you see that, John? We got the I don't even remember the name, what they call jumping jacks or some crap. You light them and they bounce around and it'd be like green sparkle lights. You know what I mean? Like, oh, damn, that was crap. We got the sparklers, them hot Johns, they burn your hand. We got firecrackers. We got the hammerheads. We got M80s. I mean, it's like, yo, we playing around. So I'm literally taking the Roman candle, shooting it joint like a gun down the street, like man, you gonna kill somebody with that thing, boom, man. So people go crazy when they learn technology that they not ready for. I'm still a youth. I mean, I wasn't ready to play around with that. I was straight for that to like playing with steel, playing with guns. I mean, shooting stop signs or whatever the case may be. Now, I mean, we learned you could take a bullet, scrape the bullet on the ground, and it come out like shrapnel and all that kind of stuff. Instead of shooting something, you scatter it like it's a double barrel shotgun from a handgun. You mentally dead. You're not ready for this. When it comes to handguns and rifles and nuclear bombs, if you're not socially, spiritually civilized, like if you're not mature enough to deal with that in a positive, useful way, you're going to misuse it. You're going to use it for destructive means. You're going to harm yourself or others. You're going to harm the planet. Like, I didn't realize. Now, you get older, you're like, I could mess around and start a fire or something. Burn somebody's house down playing. Blow somebody's car up. I mean, injure somebody. I mean, but you're looking at it like it's a game. You're just playing with some fireworks. So China in the 9th century, that technology starts spreading. And as the European powers started buying this gunpowder and studying it, they like, oh, yeah. And now, they thinking strategic, militarily. Oh, we need to corner the market on this. I mean, we could conquer the world with this. So what do? They start putting it in cannons. And the same people that made it, the British came over there with weapons that they invented, but they modified and came back and flooded that system with heroin and politics and gunpowder and basically took over and destroyed that culture. I mean, happens all over the planet Earth. Whoever has the weapons. I remember we went to the about a month or two ago. We just went to the New York Metropolitan Museum out there, and I never thought too much about, but I never saw an actual what they call them. They call them a knight's uniform. The metal joints, like say the Knights Templar or whatever. You see them wearing the metal mask, their horses got metal stuff all on their faces to protect the horses. That stuff is like, yo, who thought of, you talking about a killing machine. I'm looking at this like, imagine a human being inside this iron metal uniform with this giant horse, with this metal all on the horse. He got giant swords and javelins and all this stuff. This stuff is like, as a kid, I seen it in, fictional books, but to see it in person, it just gives you the idea of human beings' ability to perfect the destruction of other human beings. It's unlimited. It's dangerous. So you would think that you hear, like in this day and time, you hear Democrats talk about gun control. You hear different politicians publicly on the floor arguing against, every time something happened, we got to get rid of the guns. In Australia, different places, they, fought to get rid of guns, and it developed gun control and things of that nature. You got to understand, like in nature, like I was saying, creatures that have guns, like say a rattlesnake. The rattlesnake got his fangs, and it's just, everybody, oh, the snake, oh, I'm scared of him. Oh, you see, he's strapped. I mean, but nature is not picky. Nature is like, it ain't nothing personal. The first law of nature is self-preservation. You develop your mathematics, in nature, the mongoose developed its own sharp teeth and claws, and it increased its speed. So it's so agile that when the rattlesnake go to strike him, he just slip, bite him and come here. I mean, he eat him for lunch like it ain't nothing. I mean, the rattlesnake that scares me, a person like over in India, a snake handler, they like, what? smack the snake upside his head, kiss it. I mean, put his ducts, his things inside of John, squeeze on it, take the poison out of it, use it. I mean, it's like the snake that I may fear, seeing a snake out there in the wilderness somewhere. I see the snake and it's rattling, like, oh man, it's a boa constrictor over there. It's a king snake over there. It's a rattlesnake over there. It's a python over there. But the eagle be like, yo, it's lunch down there, and just come down, just snatch it up, rip it apart, and just eat it, feed it to his kids like it ain't nothing. So just because you have a weapon don't mean that other people or other creatures can't develop a more efficient and effective weapon. So that's the danger with weapons. So you could develop the best high-tech rifle you want. But if he got tuberculosis and he coughing around you, I mean, somebody come with an unseen virus around you, you'll be like, yo, I died holding my weapon. So the human mind is the greatest weapon. So when you hear people talking about gun control, don't believe the hype. What they really mean is white men need more control over the weapons on the face of the planet Earth. They like, if this stuff was controlled by us, this other stuff wouldn't be happening. But the problem is, everybody getting guns now. Your number one advocate, the National Rifle Association. The National NRA, or National Rifle Association, I had a political and legal battle with them like 40 years ago. Back in the 80s, these jokers put out an advertisement showing the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, suited and booted, with an NRA card with Minister Farrakhan's signature on, saying Louis Farrakhan. And they had this, little diatribe talking about Hitler, and I don't want to get into all the particulars. It was like a fictional, slanderous, libel type of job. Supreme Angel sued them. We get a case, we banged them jokers out on summary judgment. We knew we didn't have the money to do it, so we took and gave it over to Mr. Farrakhan's attorney back then, Sister Ava Muhammad, thoughts of peace be upon her. Know what I mean? So we was like, listen, whatever proceeds come from that, use it to help build the Nation of Islam. I mean, but the NRA is running around acting like they're gun advocates, like they're Second Amendment advocates. Stop the nonsense. They're about gun control. The NRA is trying to get control of the guns, of the weapons. Because if they got control of the weapons, they could control the world. Back in 1967, technically before that, back in 1966, when the Black Panther Party started following around racist police officers and standing up to protect the Black common unity in a community, they terrified white folks, including the National Rifle Association. President Ronald Wilson Reagan at that time was Governor Reagan in California. Reagan seen these black men talking like dumb. See, Ronald Reagan was a hunter. So Ronald Reagan had all these guns. He loved hunting. That was his thing. You wasn't taking Reagan guns. I mean, Charleston Heston and all of them, they was proud of their weapons. I mean, and they was with the founding fathers, give me liberty or give me death type of movement. But when they seen black men talking like that, Oh my goodness. They reverse engineered the whole thing. Ronald Reagan came out. Oh, you cannot walk around in America carrying guns. We got to get rid of these guns. The National Rifle Association jumped right up on the bandwagon. Hug Ronald Reagan was like, we the NRA think that citizens don't need these big weapons. Why are you walking around with guns? Like, oh, you're the NRA. What are you talking about? They mean we don't want these Negroes, so-called Negroes, we ain't going to use the other word, but we don't want them having access to these guns. Like, is y'all crazy? No. So they jumped up on the bandwagon on the tip like, we got to stop black, brown, yellow, and red people from having guns. We don't want black people in America to have guns. We don't want Native American Indians to have no guns. We definitely don't want no Mexicans having no guns and no Asians. We want to just have the guns. So understand, gun control is not about getting or eliminating weapons. It's about a world's minority protecting their colonies that they took from around the world and having the power to maintain their stolen booty, the wealth of what they did, the land and resources that they took. They like, the only way we could do that, we got to do that for 6,000 years. Ever since they've been on this planet, that's what they've been doing. When you look at the Copper Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the mixing of iron with carbon and make steel age that we're living in today. We're going to look at what the messenger taught us about this, how it really came about. Know what I mean? It's like they seen the tools being used by ancient civilizations. And that thing was like, we got to control that. And by them having gun control, copper control, bronze control, iron control, steel control, they was able to exploit and dominate and rule the planet Earth. So when you see an African fighting a Roman with a giant iron shield, and he got this giant steel sword or iron weapon. He got this bronze sword. He got weapons or technology that's way more advanced. It's like easy. I mean, when you got African warriors trying to protect their nation states, but the colonizers or the Europeans is coming in and they got cannons and rifles and you got your spear or you got a straw shield or something of that nature there, that they could just go straight through that gun, that technology, that weaponry is just superior. It may have been smelted billions of years ago for all we know. Like, they found ancient mines all over the planet Earth. So people in Egypt, like when they discovered King Tut, for example, in King Tut's tomb, one of the things they noticed he had this dagger. His father had a dagger too, but King Tut's had this dagger that was made of like steel. They was like, yo, this is high tech. They was confused. I mean, but you got to understand, the Holy Quran teaches us that Allah sends us iron from the heavens. Why is this in the Holy Quran? Because historically, ever since we had this earth, we had iron meteorites that came from distant space, came down to earth, burnt up in the atmosphere, mixing carbon with the iron, and landing in the snow, landing in the sand, landing in the dirt, landing in the water, landing somewhere that eventually somebody get it and be like, yo, this thing is heavy. Yakub played with it still. It's like it's magnetic. I mean, and somebody's like, oh damn, I could take this, I could heat this up, I could beat this and make this into a weapon. So they used to make things out of metal for a long time. They, like, I think the word is anachronisms. I mean, like they'd be like, how did these people have it? Like, how did ancient Indians have metal technology? How did the ancient Kemetic or Egyptian people have this advanced technology? How did the people in ancient China have this metal stuff? Now, I mean, it's like they was smart. They wasn't no foolish people like people try to get you to think. See, you got to understand, everybody just put everybody in the same boat. Like, it's like, imagine what we call the animal kingdom. Imagine putting all the animals in the category of a falcon. The lion be like, I don't fly. I mean, the fish at the bottom of the ocean be like, what is y'all talking about up there? I mean, that's not how we live down here. We got a different style down here. I mean, where the zebra be like, I can't swim underwater like that turtle or that frog. The frog be like, I could go in the water and I could go on the land. I mean, the duck be like, I could go in the water and then I could go on the land and I could fly in the air. You know what I mean? They're different species. And we're trying to put all the humans in one category. They be like, oh, we all got like 99% the same DNA. So do a mouse. A house mouse has 99% human DNA too. That 1% is that extreme. It can make you a man or a mouse. Some people are like, there's no difference in races. We're all genetically. That's spooky. There's dominant and recessive genes. There's melaninated people on this planet that's happen to be black folks. I mean, you got dominant recessive genes. You got that black germ and that brown germ. Yakub was the one that extracted that brown germ and made it the brown with the brown or the recessive with the recessive. And then he produced from black, brown, yellow, red, albino, and then white. You see? This is reality. And understanding the nature of reality, you see, it's not personal when the piranha fish is swimming in the school and they're not thinking, God made us all fish. We're all marine creatures. Let's just swim together and integrate. They like, man, we going out and hunt. We looking for food, right? They be like, you see that school over there? They going to tear that school apart. That school going to become extinct when those goldfish and those mackerel think they're going to integrate with these piranhas. I mean, you walk that cow across that river, farmers understood it. They used to literally take their oldest cattle and cut the ankles so that, and have it stand inside the little river so that, the blood get in there and the school of piranha comes and just start eating it all up. And then they safely cross the river. But they like, we got to make a sacrifice, not a biblical sacrifice, not a Quranic sacrifice, not a spooky sacrifice, but understanding the reality of the world that they were living in, cause and effect, actions and reactions. So we had the Black Panther Party standing up for self-defense. They were not the aggressor, terrorists, and none of that. They just was trying to protect themselves, their families, and the community using common sense. Had a whole bunch of different brothers and sisters in the struggle like that. Past, present, hopefully future until we get the problem solved. Know what I mean? But they was like a threat to the powers that be. So President Ronald Reagan, who owned his own guns with an S on it, rifles with an S on it, he passed in 1967 the Mulford Act, which basically was like, he switched position. That joker did a complete about face. It's like, I'm against these weapons. Let's get rid of these guns. I mean, the NRA jumped right on that bandwagon. What they seen black men with guns like them. Oh no, we can't have that. Why is they walking around with weapons? This is America. You don't need no assault rifle. You don't need no shotguns. You don't need a 38, a P-38. You don't need no 45. You don't need no automatics. Get rid of the guns. So once the white men got guns out of the hands of black men, They had gun control. And they went right back like, oh, make sure you purchase your gun. Make sure you put your guns in barrels of oil, bury them under the land, and all this other nonsense they was doing and doing to this very day. So don't believe the tricknology of the devil when they talk about gun control. Let's go back to the origin of how they got into this. We're going to come from, this is Message to the Black Man in America, page 111 and page 112 of Message to the Black Man in America. We're going to reflect on what the messenger's message in this age of mess taught us. All right. The messenger says, Mr. Yaqub was naturally born out of 30% dissatisfied. As we know, wherever there is a longing or demand for a change, nature, think about this, family, nature, not a mystery God, cause and effect, atomic actions and reactions. Nature will produce that man who will bring it about. Allah taught me that the present percentage of dissatisfaction is 98%, near 100%, with the present ruling powers. This 100% dissatisfied will bring about 100% change. Yaqub did not bring about 100% change, but near 90%. Allah said, quote, when Yaqub was 6 years old, one day, he was sitting down playing with 2 pieces of steel. Listen up. He noticed the magnetic power in the steel attracting the other. He looked up at his uncle and said, Uncle, when I get to be an old man, I am going to make a people who shall rule you. The uncle said, what will you make? Something to make mischief and cause bloodshed in the land? Now remember, this is in the Holy Quran also. Yaqub said, nevertheless, uncle, I know that which you do not know. And it was at that moment the boy Yaqub first came into the knowledge of just who he was, born to make trouble, break peace, kill and destroy his own people with a made enemy to the black nation. He learned his future from playing with steel. Let's read that one more time. He learned his future from playing with steel. It is still, and more still, that his made race, the white race, are still playing with. Steel has become the most useful of all metal for the people. What he really saw in playing with the 2 pieces of steel was the magnetic power of attraction. The one attracting and drawing the other under its power. In this, he saw an unlike human being made to attract others who could, with the knowledge of tricks and lies, rule the original black man until that nation could produce one greater and capable of overcoming and making manifest his race of tricks and lies with a nation of truth. Yaqub was the founder of unlike attracts and like repels, though Mr. Yaqub was a member of the black nation. So here, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Dr. Yaqub Malik Shabazz was actually the founder of unlike attracts and like repels. At the age of 6, he was playing with 2 pieces of steel. We would call it in this day and time lodestone. Lodestone, if you go to the North Pole, you'll find rocks that are magnetic. You go to the South Pole, you'll find rocks that are magnetic. If you take 2 pieces of rock from the north, lodestones and they repel. They keep pushing against each other. If you go down south and you get a rock from down south and you get I'm talking about rocks that's full of iron ore, the metal rocks, the lodestone, you take a rock from down south and a rock from the north and you put them near each other, they, boom, what? Boom. You got to force them to come, whoa, boom. They attract. See, opposites attract and like repels. This is important for us to understand when it comes to gun control. See, you be thinking you controlling the gun control you. See, I remember when we came outside, it's like this guy lost my radio. I'm like, yo, you gotta get my radio. Boom, he come up with a banger. It's like, oh, that oh my goodness. When you pick up that gun and you're not conscious, you're not militarily trained, you're not a soldier, you're not trying to defend your family or your hood or the nation or nothing like that. You picking it up just playing with steel. I mean, you're like, oh my goodness, it's like I could rob somebody with this. I could shoot my ops with this. I could shoot myself with this. I could drop this and accidentally shoot my neighbor. I don't know how to use it. I'm not on a rifle range. I'm not going to the shooting gallery. I don't have a license and none of that kind. I'm just a stupid person with a weapon. You can't give that kind of power to mere mortals. You definitely can't give that kind of power to the electron or the negative forces or the greedy, the rich, the danger. They're going to use it in the wrong way. You see? So we want to look at how they used this law in the year 1680 in Virginia. They basically rewrote the slave laws. And instead of calling them the slave laws, they renamed them to the Black Code laws. So under the slave laws in 1680s, it was institutionalized racism, meaning the United States government, the U.S. Supreme Court, the police department. You see how today you see the police in the paddy wagon. You got to understand, during slavery, they were called paddy rollers. The paddy rollers were white men that were in wagons that were being paid by rich people to protect their property. They like, yo, we don't want them slaves going out there stealing our pumpkins and cattle and chickens and burglarizing our homes. And, so the police go out, make sure, they see a black man with a white woman. Oh, you going to jail. You might get lynched. I mean, even though she might like you, love you, they don't care, you see? Because the law is blacks and whites can't get married. There's no, like that in 1680, they put it in that legislation like, yo, it's illegal for a slave, a black slave, or a free black slave to own a gun. That was their gun control. Their gun control was so-called Negroes. I'm saying so-called Negroes, being politically correct. I mean, so-called Negroes, it's illegal to allow them to learn how to use weapons or to possess a weapon. You see? In 2025, they be like, we don't want black folks manufacturing guns on earth. They be like, what you mean? We don't want black people in America to manufacture their own weapons. You be like, but black people manufacture their weapons. Only black folks that was loyal to the U.S. military, former veterans, you got like two sisters and another brother or something. I mean, they opened up a tiny, and when I say tiny, because when it comes to gun manufacturing in the United States, black people, guns is like a piece of 1%. Like, we don't make no guns. They make the gun. They have complete gun control. There's always an exception to a rule. So you may, I know this black sister, she a veteran, she started her own gun company. That's like putting a drip of Kool-Aid in a gallon of water, saying you made Kool-Aid. No, you just got a drip of Kool-Aid. We just got to, like, the message told us in this book right here, Best of Black America, 1965. He said, I'm just paraphrasing. He said, if you think you can defeat America with a few brickbats, a few homemade bombs, and a few handguns, you are as wrong as the distances from the east to the west. See, one of the things, like in my FOI career, I used to be in the FOI military department. I was a private soldier. I became a squad leader. I made rank of lieutenant, second lieutenant, first lieutenant. I was inspector, investigator, assistant captain, and captain. All right. So before I got into ministry, I was deep into like drills, self-defense, technology, martial arts, boxing, what have you. Work, exercise, it's like I got lazy. I'm 60 years old now. I ain't working out like I was when I was 20. Nah, I'm too busy mentally, you know what I mean? But one of the things that we understood was we were not terrorists. We were not a gang. We was not the black mafia. We were not insurrectionists. We were not revolutionaries. Like when I came into the knowledge of self, I had the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan's book, 7 Speeches. He already solved all that for us. He saved our lives a long time. I didn't have to make stupid choices because he paved the way for me. Like, oh, okay, it's like we got to be smarter than that. I mean, and those that took that path, I seen them slaughtered in the street. Now, I mean, I seen them defeated by our devils. I mean, these devils is like easily, like we got to be mindful that what level they on. In fact, let me find the I want to share with y'all the 2025 countries that have nuclear weapons and give you just some realistic idea. This is 2025. All right. Russia has 4,309 nuclear weapons. The United States has 3,700 nuclear weapons. China has 600 nuclear weapons. France has 290 nuclear weapons. The United Kingdom has 225 nuclear weapons. India has 180 nuclear weapons. Pakistan has 170 nuclear weapons. Israel has 90 nuclear weapons. North Korea has 50 nuclear weapons. As I said earlier, only Africa, only South Africa in particular, voluntarily dismantled their nuclear weapons. See, South Africa gave them up. The black folks say, like, we not trying to blow the earth up 30 times. We not trying to, I want you to understand, it's a lot of mythology out there with a lot of that stuff, put it like this. When Mount St. Helens erupted, when a volcano goes off, it's 1,000 times worse than the white man's nuclear bombs. Think about that. Say there's a volcanic eruption. You're in, say, Philadelphia. You wouldn't even know about it. But they'll have you thinking like, oh, they blow up a nuclear bomb, it's going to kill everybody, the radiation and the heat and all this. It's like, don't believe the hype. It's absolutely destructive. Like if you had a black militia and a white militia and they were both in Pennsylvania somewhere, and they blew up a nuclear bomb, it'd melt them and their guns. I mean, so understanding warfare, they study the well and they make nuclear submarines. They study the box turtle and they make tanks like that. They study the stork, they study the bird, and they make planes and jets like that. They study the hummingbird and make helicopters. See, they make rockets that can go to, they can send missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles that can come from their nation all the way to your nation. So we don't have no physical defense system with that. But the human mind is the greatest weapon on earth. Allah in His infinite wisdom used mathematics. So the message teaches us that Master Fard Muhammad in 1929 in Nippon, Japan, he got together some black, brown, yellow, and red scientists to build our mother plane. He said, that's not the first time we had a mother plane. When you study ancient texts and you study ancient, you be like, oh, they always had flying vehicles. They was born back in the day. The message said 35,000 years ago, we was doing all that kind of stuff with the Hindus. I mean, but it's like the world would rather believe that such technology came from aliens from a distant planet or star system than to believe black folks, brown folks, yellow folks, red folks, smart with technology. Nah, they're programmed. They're brain dirty. They're not brainwashed. They're brain dirty. Like, they would not blink an eye if they saw the white man's helicopter fly over their head, or the white man's airplane fly across the sky, or the white man's jet zoom past the sky. They'd be like, oh, absolutely, the white folks, they can heat up rocks, extract metals, and build flying vehicles. But black people building something that can fly in the sky? That's crazy. Hey, we'll see. I mean, so these countries that have these nuclear weapons, if you will, now, I mean, you got to understand that it's about control. So the powers that be, Israel and the United States and Europe in particular, white man is like, we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. Why? It's gun control. It's real gun control. Gun control don't mean we got to put down the assault rifles or we got to pick them up. Gun control means those that have the guns got to make sure other people don't get guns. See, why would you, can you imagine, see, a lot of people take stuff real personal. I mean, realistically speaking, imagine you having a rifle in your home to protect your home under the Second Amendment. But then you find out that all the gang members in the community is buying guns. You down all of a sudden, you lobbying and legislating and at town hall meeting, we have to get rid of these guns off our streets. We just like, why? The other man got them things. I mean, we don't want the brother man running around here with no guns. Is you crazy? No. If he come in my house, I want him to come to my house and he got a flashlight and maybe a knife. He bringing a knife to a gunfight. But if I got an AR-15 and he got an AR-15, I don't like them odds. I mean, I don't like the way that even sound. No, not me. It's like if it's chaos on the planet, it's like, wait a minute. We only make up 11 to 16% of the world's population, meaning every 100 people you see, only 11 to 16 of them is white. They like, no. Y'all getting spooky. I mean, white folks ain't going for that. They absolutely are going to maintain gun control. I mean, because that's the reality of the world in which we live. So, in conclusion, remember, Yaqub learned his mission by playing with steel. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that it was steel that the devil studied. And they used that still to master civilizations. It was still that was the sword. It was still that was the cannon. It was still that was the rifle. It was still that was the infrastructure for that buildings. It was still that was the car. It was still that was the airplane. It was still that's the rocket that's taking them to distant parts of outer space. They using steel. But remember, the steel comes down to the earth in the form of meteorites and still comes out of the earth by heating up the rocks right here on the earth. So when you hear them talking about strategic minerals in the earth, when you see Russia and Ukraine doing all this stuff, when you see Israel and Palestine doing all this stuff about land, when you see the Holy Quran teaches that during times of war, while one brother is making salat, let the other brother stand on post with his sword. And then when he finished making prayer, then he stand up with his sword. When you see in your Bible, the Christians, Jesus is like this teacher that the preachers try to turn into like this loving mercy. Like, no, read the Bible yourself. Jesus is going to tell them, yeah, I told y'all in the past, love your enemies and turn the cheek and love those that despitefully do you wrong and all that. He said, I'm changing that. Jesus told you in the Bible, he was like, listen, I need to holler at y'all, laborers meeting. He called all the disciples together. Peter and all of them came there. Matthew, Mark, he said, listen, I want y'all to sell y'all sandals and sell the clothes that y'all wear, the cloak that you wear. Sell that and take the money and buy some guns. He said, buy some swords. So they went out, sold everything they had, and they came back. Swords was real expensive. So they came back and they was like, Master, all we could afford was these 2 swords. He's like, all right, that's enough. Know what I mean? So when Jesus is in the garden and the armed Roman soldiers come over there, you don't just see Peter in the situation where it's something real weird in there. They like, and one of the disciples of Jesus ran off naked. It's like, why is that in the Bible? Why did he run off naked? Because earlier, Jesus told them to sell their clothes to buy weapons. So they strapped up. They were armed. Peter pulled his sword out and cut the Roman soldier's ear off. He cut the cop ear off in the Bible. Jesus like, yo, put your sword away. Put the banger back. You know what I mean? He that lives by the sword will die by the sword. And he healed the Roman soldier's ear. Now, this is, could be a metaphor. Like I personally don't believe there was no physical white guy named Jesus on the cross and all that, but, it's rooted in some truth. I mean, Abulad Muhammad teach us the real Jesus, Yahshua, Isa, he actually did get stabbed in his heart. Romans carry 18-inch daggers, real still. I mean, and he got stabbed in his heart and got pinned to the Jewish store in the wood. I mean, and since it's, they tell you to put your arms up back then, they don't turn around, but you do it in the front. And he stabbed him with such force that the knife bust his heart wide open and rigor mortis instantly set in. So he physically died. Like, you get shot direct, you can't even blink your eyes. I mean, so there's a science there. I mean, but there's symbolism there also. Now, I mean, there's history and historicity. History is not a science, family. I mean, this is one of the most asinine, spookiest things I see a lot on the internet. People think history is a science. No, history is not in the category of science. I mean, but Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, carrying his sword. Jesus got his sword. I mean, Moses got a homicide with his. Moses on the run for a homicide. You know what I mean? Real men do real things in real life. I mean, we may spook up these scriptures, but the reality is our lessons teaches us what? The Holy Quran, the Bible, is made by the original people. Who is Allah? See, Allah is not this burning bush up on the mountain, Allah is not this bright white light somewhere in outer space. Allah is not this big giant white guy on a white throne on top of cloud number 9 floating in space somewhere. I mean, Allah is the God. The God is the supreme being. You see, there is no mystery God that's going to help you or protect you. God helps those that help themselves. Remember, only the messenger's message will guide us through this age of mess. Assalamu alaikum. Peace to the gods, peace to the goddess. Make sure y'all subscribe.